Girl slips undercover secret note owner, and suddenly he calls for backup. The Vanguard Club didn't exist, at least not officially. No website advertised its location. No sign hung above its unmarked entrance, tucked between two unassuming buildings in the financial district. Its phone number chained. Monthly and membership required recommendations from 3 existing patrons, each with a net worth exceeding 9 figures. Mia James straightened her pristine black uniform and passed through the employee entrance, a ritual she'd performed 5 nights a week for the past year. The security skin registered her biometrics, while a guard who never smiled inspected her appearance with military precision. Evening Davis. She said, having learned that acknowledging the guards by name earned a fraction more respect. He nodded, once the closest thing to warmth she'd received in months. The service corridor opened into a realm where money had long ceased to be a concern for its patrons. Vanguard wasn't merely exclusive, it was a sanctuary where billionaires could escape the constraints of public scrutiny, where handshakes over aged whiskey replaced contracts, and where fortunes changed hands with whispered agreements rather than signed documents. And Mia, invisible by design, had front-row seats to it all. "James, you're Section 3 tonight," her supervisor Marcus announced, sliding the tablet toward her private room. Reservations for Harrington at 9 LAN at 10:30. Standard protocol meant perfect service, absolute discretion, and most importantly, selective deafness. Hear nothing, remember nothing, repeat nothing, understood, Mia said, tucking a strand of dark hair behind her ear. She perfected the art of blending into backgrounds, becoming part of the decor, present but unseeable. As she arranged crystal glass glasses at the marble-top bar, Mia caught her reflection in the mirrored backdrop. 26 years old with a master's degree in finance. Yet here she was, serving drinks to people who could buy and sell her entire existence without blinking. The irony wasn't lost on her, but Vanguard paid 3 times the industry standard, and watching the powerful manipulate markets from the shadows had proven more educational than her expensive degree. Every night was a masterclass in power, influence, and the subtle art of leveraging both. Maya, a voice jolted her from her thoughts. It belonged to Adrian, a fellow staff member who joined about 3 months ago. Unlike the other employees who maintained rigid professionalism, Adrian possessed a curious watchfulness that mirrored her own. "Your million Ming." Again, she smiled despite herself, just mentally calculating my student land interest against tonight's tips. "Depressing math," he said, his voice low and unexpectedly refined for someone who supposedly came from food service backgrounds. There was something about Adrian that never quite fit his cover story, his posture too straight, his observations too incisive, his calm too unshakable for someone merely mixing drinks and carrying trays. "The most dangerous kind," she replied, arranging garnishes with surgical precision. The club began filling with its exclusive clientele. As the evening progressed, M navigated the main floor with practiced efficiency, invisible until needed, then magically materialized with exactly what was required, before disappearing again at precisely 9:00. Victor Harrington arrived with his usual entourage. The investment mogo controlled a portfolio worth billions and had a reputation for aggressive corporate takeovers tonight. However, his customary confidence seemed edged with tension. "McAllen, 25, neat hat," ordered without looking at her, his attention fixed on his phone. As Mia placed the drink before him, she noticed Marcus directing her toward the VIP lounge, a separated section where the truly influential conducted their most private affairs. The space was arranged to create optimal privacy. Acoustic engineering that contained conversations within their immediate vicinity, furniture positioned to prevent lip reading, and strict no-device policies enforced by signal jammers. "Gentlemen, can I refresh your drinks?" Mia asked as she approached a secluded corner booth where Harrington had joined 3 other men. One of them, Kenneth Shaw, a notorious venture capitalist, waved her away impatiently. But Harrington gestured for another round as she leaned to collect the empty glasses. Fragments of their conversation reached her, confirmed his identity last week. Shaw was saying, his voice barely above a whisper, been hiding in plain sight for months. And the board, this from Harrington, his finger tracing the rim of his glass, divided majority support requires just one more signature. He won't sell, countered a third man. Malcolm Reed, whose family's banking dynasty stretched back generations. "Not willingly, then we create circumstances where willingness becomes irrelevant," Harrington replied with chilling finality. "The club changes hands by the end of the week." One almost dismissed it immediately, But as she observed Adrienne's calculated movements, the pieces began shifting into a new configuration. The mysterious owner of Vanguard was famously reclusive, no photographs existed, no public appearances. Some questioned whether he was real or merely a corporate fiction. But what if Mia watched Adrian more carefully now, noting how staff deferred to him despite his supposedly junior position, how security nodded respectfully when he passed, how he alone seemed to move through the club with the subtle authority of someone who belonged everywhere and nowhere simultaneously? What if the owner hadn't entrusted the investigation to someone else? What if he decided to conduct it himself, private room access? Only tonight, Mia Harrington's request, Marcus handed her an access card to the restricted VIP lounge, the inner sanctum within the already exclusive Vanguard Club. The invitation-only space occupied the entire top floor, accessible by a single elevator that required both biometric confirmation and the temporary access card. She now held any special instructions, Mia asked, tucking the card into her pocket. Just the usual invisible service DA ears. Marcus hesitated, then added something unusual. And Mia, be careful up there tonight, the air feels different. That elevator ascended silently to the top floor. When the doors opened, Mia stepped into an environment that made the main club look almost commonplace by comparison, while the lower floors impressed with obvious luxury. The VIP lounge exuded power in its restrained, understated elegance that whispered rather than shouted wealth. Dark mahogany panels lined the walls, interspersed with museum-quality art that rotated. Monthly ambient lighting cast soft shadows across seating arrangements designed for maximum privacy. Only 7 guests occupied the space tonight, an unusually small number, all clustered around Harrington in the central seating area. Mia approached with practiced deference. Good evening, gentlemen. What may I bring you? Victor Harrington looked up, his steel-gray eyes registering her presence without truly seeing her. The 82 Malin for everyone. She nodded and retreated to the private bar, where she found Adrian arranging glasses with methodical precision. You're up here tonight? She asked, surprised to see him in the restricted area. Staff shortage, he replied, though she suspected the explanation was too convenient. He handed her a tray of crystal tumblers, 7 of the 82. I've already pulled it. As she returned with the drinks, the conversation at the main table fell silent. She placed each glass with fluid efficiency, careful to avoid eye contact while remaining attentive to empty glasses or shifting body language that might signal need. She had nearly finished when Harrington spoke again. Gentlemen, let's continue. The opportunity won't remain open indefinitely. Maya slowed her movements, fractionally attuning her ears to their hushed conversation as she collected discarded napkins. The intelligence is solid. This from Shaw, leaning forward with uncharacteristic intensity. Absolutely confirmed, Harrington replied. Locke has been personally monitoring the club for months, operating undercover. Mia nearly fumbled a glass. Adrian Locke, the reclusive billionaire whose name appeared on financial papers as Vanguard's owner, but whose face remained unknown even in the most exclusive circles. And you're certain it's him? Reed asked, swirling amber liquid in his glass. Without question, my source inside his private security team confirmed it 3 days ago. Then we moved tonight, announced the voice Mia didn't immediately recognize. She glanced up briefly to see Elias Chin, the tech mogul whose cyber security empire had made him the newest addition to the billionaires club. The paperwork is prepared. Once executed, control transfers immediately. And if he refuses this from another man, Bradley Winters, whose family controlled shipping routes across 3 continents. Harrington's smile never reached his eyes. That's why we've arranged a contingency. Financial coercion is preferable, but physical persuasion remains an option. I won't be party to anything messy, Reed interjected, his aristocratic features pinched with distaste. Nothing traceable, Harrington assured him, but make no mistake, by morning Vanguard will have new ownership. Locke's little spy game ends tonight. Mia maintained her composed expression through years of practice, but internally her mind raced. Not only was Adrian Locke the actual owner, working undercover within his own establishment, but these men were planning to force him out tonight through financial manipulation or actual violence, and they believed they knew his identity. She retreated to the bar, fighting to keep her hands steady as she arranged fresh cocktail napkins. Everything all right? Adrian asked, his voice low as he polished a glass with meticulous attention. Mia studied him surreptitiously. Mia, medium height, athletic build beneath the tailored staff uniform, brown haircut, in it. Adrian paused, then smoothly redirected toward the private wine cellar adjacent to the lounge. I'll retrieve it, Sir. Mia busied herself wiping down the bar counter. Fighting to control her breathing, one of the security men, the one who had disappeared earlier, re-entered the lounge and made a subtle hand gesture to his partner. Something was happening. The minutes stretched painfully as she watched the door to the wine cellar, expecting Adrian to return. When he finally emerged, he carried not only the requested bottle, but also had his phone in hand, the first time she'd ever seen him use a personal device during service hours. As he passed behind her at the bar, he whispered, "Thank you," so softly she almost thought she'd imagined it. The atmosphere in the room had shifted imperceptibly. The conversations continued, glasses clinked, exclusive deals were still being brokered in hushed tones. But Mia sensed an undercurrent of 10 ion rippling beneath the surface. Adrian Ped Harrington's requested Malin with perfect form, his movements precise as ever. But now Mia could see what she missed before: the subtle economy of motion, the constant awareness of his surroundings, the way he positioned himself to maintain sidelines to both exit points. They weren't the habits of a career server, they were the instinct of someone trained to anticipate threats. Mia Harrington's voice jolted her from her observation. Another sparkling water. She moved to fulfill the request, aware of Adrian watching from the bar. As she placed the water before Harrington, he caught her wrist, not roughly, but with unmistakable authority. "Have we met before?" he asked, his gaze penetrating outside of Vanguard. "Perhaps. I don't believe so, sir," she replied, keeping her voice steady despite the alarm bells ringing in her mind. "Curious," he said, not releasing her wrist. "You seem familiar from across the room." She felt Adrian's focus sharpen like a laser. "Perhaps at the Metropolitan Charity Gala last month," Harrington continued, his grip tightening slightly. "You served there as well, didn't you?" "No, sir," Mia replied truthfully. "I work exclusively for Vanguard." Something in her answer seemed to satisfy him as he finally released her wrist. "My mistake." As she retreated, she noticed one of the security men speaking quietly into his earpiece, his eyes following her movements. The second security man had positioned himself near the elevator, the only exit. Mia returned to the bar, where Adrian was methodically drying glasses. "Interesting question," he murmured, not looking at her. "Yes," she agreed, the single word carrying volumes of unspoken concern. "I believe," Adrian said, his voice barely audible, "that we may have a situation developing." Before Mia could respond, the security man by the elevator stepped forward. "Miss," he called, his tone professional but brooking no argument, "Mr. Harrington would like to speak with you privately." Adrian tensed beside her, his hands stilling on the glass. "Now please," the security man added. When she hesitated, Mia felt a chill travel down her spine. As she placed down her towel, she crossed an invisible line, and Harrington knew it. Adrian's fingers tightened around the glass he was polishing, his eyes meeting MS for a split second, a silent communication passing between them. "Don't resist. Play along." She nodded almost imperceptibly and followed the security man across the lounge. Every step felt like walking through quicksand, her instincts screaming to run while her training insisted on maintaining composure. "I'll only be a moment," she said to Adrian, her voice impressively steady. The moment she was led away, Adrian placed the glass down with deliberate care and slipped through the service door adjacent to the bar, the narrow corridor beyond designed for staff to move discreetly. Throughout, the club provided temporary sanctuary from watching eyes. He pulled out his phone, no longer concerned with maintaining his cover. Mia's warning had accelerated his timeline, but he'd suspected something was brewing. The pieces had been falling into place for weeks. Unusual financial inquiry, staff being questioned about his routines, the sudden interest from Harrington's group in Vanguard's operational structure. He dialed the number from memory. "Initiate protocol." "Echo," he said when the line connected. His voice transformed from the deferential tone of a service worker to one accustomed to commanding elite security forces. "Full team, main entrance and service corridors, surveillance blackout." "On my mark." The voice on the other end, Keller, his head of security, responded with military precision. "Confirmed, team's positioning now." "ETA 4 minutes, expedite." Adrian ordered. "We have a hostage situation developing." "One of our staff." Mia James acknowledged, switching to 3-minute protocol. Adrian ended the call and slipped the phone into his pocket, mentally cataloging the resources at his disposal. 8 security personnel would enter through various access points. The club's integrated security system could be remotely overridden. To